This time, it's not just about feuds and diss tracks. Jim Jones' entire house is on the verge of collapsing. If you thought he was simply making headlines for his rap career, think again. His wife has ultimately made public everything: the divorce. Papers have been filed, and the impending revelation might ruin Jim's career, but is this just another separation between celebrities? Or is it a huge betrayal that has been concealed for years, a double life, scandal, secret affairs, and the dark truth that even the most well-known figures in the field have been attempting to hide is going to be made public, and this isn't just rumors. His wife has come up with some surprising information that will make you wonder if Jim Jones is indeed a master manipulator. Who is influencing his wife? Is this a publicity gimmick, or is reality so twisted that not even the industry can shield him? One thing is certain though, the truth will be revealed today. Hold on tight, because what I'm about to tell you will rock the internet to its foundation. You thought you knew everything there was to know about Jim Jones, the slick rapper and longtime flashy lifestyle star. Romance with Chrissy Lampkin has been unfolding before our eyes for years, but what if I told you that everything you believed to be true was actually false? Yes, you read correctly. The internet is going crazy right now because Chrissy finally came clean about Jim Jones and filed for divorce. This isn't your typical celebrity split though. It's ugly, shocking, and brimming with treachery because, let's face it, Chrissy has been writing for Jim Jones for more than 20 years. She proposed to him more than 10 years ago, and he hasn't been married yet. That alone ought to have raised suspicions, but now that everything is clear, it all makes sense because Chrissy has been harboring some shocking secrets about GY that are coming to light. But why did Chrissy ultimately decide to end this relationship after all these years? Well, people, you're going to find out because of what's been happening. Let's go back a bit because Jim Jones has always been known for being a wild card in his music, street cred, and business. Behind closed doors, you'll start to doubt everything. Activities have kept him in the public eye for years, but an unidentified insider claims that he has been concealing some significant secrets. Yes, we have insiders, people Chrissy tired of Jim's deceit, manipulation, and shady business practices, not to mention the adultery allegations that have been circulating about him for years. If you've been paying attention, you should be aware that Jim and Chrissy's relationship was never easy. They were engaged for what seemed like an eternity, but despite Chrissy's patience, Jim never made the last step. This is where things get complicated. More bizarre, since it turns out that Jim never intended to wed Chrissy in the first place. That's correct. This man was deceiving her for years into thinking they were building. We've all heard tales about Jim being unfaithful, but according to people close to Chrissy, it's more than that. He was actually living a second life while they were together. Was not just one lady, but two. Jim Jones was accused of having affairs with several women for years, and Chrissy was the worst since she was aware of them. Covert hotel meetings. And she was even aware of the women who dared to approach her DMs and explain the situation. But why hadn't she left sooner? That's where things get really tangled. In addition to being Jim's long-standing lover, Chrissy was also heavily involved in his business affairs. Let's just say that Jim Jones was not keeping things clean, as evidenced by his shady financial activities. According to purported money laundering sources, Chrissy was in a predicament she couldn't simply leave because doing so would mean losing everything, including Jim. Oh, he knew precisely what he was doing. Chrissy was dealing damage behind the scenes, while this man was out here having the time of his life, showing his designing skills, and splurging like it was nothing. Control. But the truth is that secrets don't remain buried indefinitely. According to one of our Chrissy, an anonymous source discovered some receipts that completely altered the situation. Now, we're not just discussing texts from other women, believe me. There were many of those, but rather banks, statements, offshore accounts, and millions of dollars moving about in ways that don't match up. Chrissy was done acting foolish, but this is where it gets weird. Even wilder because, according to sources, Jim was not only allegedly cheating on Chrissy but also financially defrauding her. While Chrissy was assisting Jim in developing his brand, she was also putting her own money into their joint ventures. But she was unaware that Jim was reportedly taking money away from her and using it to finance his own side projects. Oh, and get you read correctly, Jim was supposedly out here using Chrissy's hard-earned money on his side ladies. When Chrissy discovered that some of those side ventures were for other women, she began piecing things together after the game ended, when she decided enough was enough. Now, let me tell you something. Chrissy is not the kind of lady you want to cross. A woman has always been devoted to Jim. She supported him when his rap career was in ruins and stuck up for him when others dubbed him a washed-up rapper. She even he put his career on wait to help him stay relevant, and this is how he pays her back. Oh no, Chrissy wasn't going to accept this, so she began gathering proof based on sources. Chrissy secretly gathered evidence of Jim's shady activities for months, recording screenshots, going through emails, and even employing private detectives to obtain the whole story. And let's just say that what she discovered was worse than anyone could have predicted, because it was a full-blown fraud, embezzlement, and cheating scandal. When we left off, Chrissy had discovered more than just infidelity. She wasn't merely dealing in a criminal organization, and guess what? She had all the receipts, and now she's going to bring Jim down. Chrissy isn't just filing for divorce. She's coming for a divorce from the cheating rapper, whose receipts revealed something much bigger: shady business dealings, hidden accounts, and missing money. Let's take a look at everything that Jim Jones possesses. You see, while Jim was out having a good time, showing off on Instagram, and hanging out with ladies who didn't understand what loyalty meant, Chrissy was, since the IRS doesn't play, and Jim Jones has reportedly been playing a risky game for a long time, connecting the dots, and what she discovered might put him in significant legal jeopardy. An unnamed insider who was connected to Jim's financial team claimed that Chrissy wasn't the only one who saw some strange financial transactions. The feds had already been keeping an eye on you. I've heard that Jim was already on their radar. And guess what? Chrissy had all the evidence they required. Now, let's talk about where all this money was going. Jim was purportedly laundering money through a number of firms, some of which were legitimate while others were wholly fraudulent. As if that weren't awful enough, some of the enterprises supposedly were filed in Chrissy's name without her knowledge. Yes, you read correctly. Jim was allegedly using Chrissy as a scapegoat in case the federal government ever showed up. She would be the one to fall, and Chrissy was unaware of this until she began to look into it. After seeing her name on paperwork she had never signed, it was game over, and this is where things become complicated. Take a change, because Chrissy did what any wise woman would do and reversed the script on Jim. Rather than simply packing her bags and leaving, Chrissy didn't merely confront Jim about she engaged a group of attorneys to investigate every train transaction because she was missing money, and they discovered that millions of dollars were going in and out of arbitrary accounts, offshore investments, and obtained these real estate purchases under false pretenses. But hold on, things get worse. It turns out that Jim wasn't only hiding money, he was also evading taxes by using Wesley as his name. Snipes, and guess what? The IRS had already discovered him. The only reason he hadn't been imprisoned yet was because they lacked sufficient reliable evidence. However, Chrissy arrived with files of, if you thought she was going to keep this information to herself, think again, since Chrissy found out about the bank statements, emails, wire transfers, and covert transactions that no one knew about. She felt she needed to take action because Jim had set her up to be held accountable for his misdeeds, so she went directly to the police. Yes, that's correct. She used the ultimate power maneuver. She didn't simply file for divorce. She turned Jim in. To put it mildly, Jim didn't anticipate this since, let's face it, he had always undervalued Chrissy for years, believing her to be the devoted ride or I lover who would never leave, but he overlooked the fact that Chrissy is not only devoted, but also extremely intelligent, and Jim Jones is currently dealing with more than just a divorce. The most bizarre aspect is that Chrissy is getting all of the money she helped Jim make back because, according to legal experts, he is the target of IRS investigations, lawsuits, and even criminal prosecution, given her unwitting involvement. With Jim's company, Chrissy has a strong case to inherit a sizable amount of his assets. She can also contend that she is entitled to a monetary settlement, and let's just say, Jim is in a strong position to battle her in court, but things become much more complicated as it was revealed that Chrissy had formally filed for divorce, exposing Jim's the whole industry turned against him due to financial issues. Rappers who had previously referred to Jim as their bro are now ignoring him. Business partners are severing their connections, and the feds are knocking on his door, but Jim is in a panic, according to people close to him. He has been rushing to transfer funds, hiring attorneys, and attempting to repair the damage, but it's too late. Chrissy beat him at his own game, and now she's not only leaving as a free woman, she's leaving wealthy. But what will happen to Jim next. Will he lose everything? Will the feds put him in jail? The most important issue of all is who else was participating in his shady activities, because, believe me, Jim wasn't operating alone. Alright, let's go on to the last section of this crazy expose that we've watched Jim Jones transform from a cocky rapper to a desperate guy witnessing his empire fall apart, and now it's time to expose everyone else involved, because let's face it, Jim wasn't alone in this. There were individuals working behind the scenes to cover for him and ensure that his dirty money never made it. However, Chrissy is ensuring that they all fall with him. Before we deal with the last blow, let's quickly review Jim's involvement in some serious difficulties, including phony companies, IRS, and hidden money inquiries. Chrissy changed the course and reported him in rather than accepting responsibility. But what's even more bizarre is that, according to recent revelations from Jim's inner circle, included a whole group of people who worked to hide his financial mess, including his long-standing business manager. You won't believe some of these names. If Jim wanted money to vanish, this was the person pulling the strings. And guess what? He's already started snitching. This man handled all the shady transactions. Jim folded the moment Chrissy's legal team mentioned his name, and the details he provided might have imprisoned Jim for years. Jim's alleged industry colleagues, rappers, who were when Chrissy began to piece things together. She discovered that some of Jim's most well-known people were part of his circle but were also assisting him in money laundering. This is when things get really sticky. Friends weren't merely hanging out with him. They were also involved in the scheme, which involved luxury cars registered under false names, private jet flights paid for with cash, and offshore accounts connected to some of the largest names in the business. And these rappers quickly severed their relationship with Jim after Chrissy revealed his money laundering, removing his images and unfollowing him as if they had never been friends, because remember how Chrissy saw her name on documents she never signed? Well, she wasn't the only one, Jim. Let's face it, nobody wants to be the next person on the IRS hit list. This is where things go crazy. Did the same to some of his closest friends, family members, business associates, and others, and now they're all turning against him. It couldn't be worse, could it? There's one more piece to this puzzle, because based on reports from the investigation into Jim's finances, it appears that the authorities have been keeping an eye on him for far longer than anyone realized. Began years before, and the only reason he wasn't apprehended sooner was because someone inside was shielding him. Yes, we're talking about dishonest accountants, dishonest investors, and even legal professionals. Offices that were hiding evidence. But now that Chrissy has made the matter public, they are unable to conceal it any longer, and Jim is completely out of options. So let's see what happens next. His attorneys were initially certain that they could reach a peaceful resolution, but as soon as Chrissy gave them those documents, it was over. According to reports, Jim is currently having difficulty, cannot cover his legal bills, his accounts are seized, his companies are being probed, and his team is abandoning Jim in favor of fast rappers who used to support him and are now acting as like they didn't know him. Jim is losing everything he's owned, but even worse, some of these same individuals owe him money, and now that he's being investigated, they're using it as a reason not to reimburse him. Additionally, he is being conned by his own people. This is where things get really serious because, according to the most recent sources, Jim is officially under government surveillance for tax fraud, money laundering, and wire fraud. And the IRS has been bolstering their case for years, according to sources, and now that they have Chrissy's receipts, it will only be a matter of time until they come knocking. So what's next for Jim? Honestly, it doesn't look good. If the accusations are true, he might spend a significant amount of time in jail. His career is essentially over, and his businesses are closing one by one. Jim believed he had everything under control, but let's face it, this has to be one of the biggest narrative twists in hip-hop history, and Chrissy's walking away with the bag. He believed he was too clever to be found and that Chrissy would never leave, but in the end, he played himself and is now suffering the ultimate price. Therefore, I have to ask you all, do you think Jim is done with goodwill? Will he recover, or is this the end of his career? More importantly, who else do you think was involved? Please share your ideas in the comments section below if you would like more information. Wild exposes like this, so please like, subscribe, and enable notifications because, believe me, there will be more tea soon. Alright everyone, This is it. We have just discovered one of the for years, Jim Jones and Chrissy Lampkin were the unshakable duo and the biggest bombshells in hip-hop history. They managed to endure the industry's drama and betrayals, or so we believed, but now when a woman like Chrissy eventually leaves, she doesn't just go away quietly. She's burning the whole thing down. It's all falling apart. Chrissy isn't just leaving Jim, she's exposing him. How's down on her way out, so let's examine what changed and what drove her to behave out of character. She had known Jim all along and had supported him through every scandal, every business war, but now that she's finished, it must indicate that something significant happened behind the scenes, and the odd part is that Chrissy isn't simply packing her bags and leaving. What comes next? You all already know how this industry operates. One moment you're untouchable, the next you're just another headline. She's taking Jim's entire legacy with her. Jim is a headliner, but his name isn't being discussed for power plays or music business strategies. Rather, it's for his demise. The question is, how far does this go? Because when you're in this, you make a lot of enemies throughout the game, and when people notice blood in the water, they come for everything. What happens next? Does Jim defend himself? Does he drop his own bombshells? Or is since Jim Jones, let's face it, built his career on always being 10 steps ahead, this is the moment he finally loses everything? He didn't anticipate this, and Chrissy just made now that everyone has seen it. Let's discuss the wider issue. As you are all aware, when one king falls, another rises. So I had to ask who stands to gain the most from Jim Jones taking. Is this someone from his own circle, a rival, or someone lurking in the shadows to take his place? Because what if this wasn't just about Chrissy? What if she was the last? Let's not pretend that the industry doesn't arrange these things. One day you're on top, and the next you're being hauled away. In a much larger game, what if Jim was already being set up to lose, eliminated, and Jim Jones appears to be the next person on that list as the power shift takes over? What will happen now if Jim Jones truly loses it all, and who will come forward? Because it's a power struggle, and when one person loses their position, there's always someone else vying for it. This isn't just any split though, someone is winning. The true question and the worst part is that if Chrissy is the one dealing the ultimate blow, who is standing behind her pulling the strings? Someone is gaining power from Jim's demise. Jim's name is permanently linked to this chaotic public space, even if he could re-establish his career and financially support himself on the internet. Downfall, and regardless of what occurs next, Jim Jones' legacy has taken a hit from which it may never fully recover. The last question I have is Jim Jones done? Is this the time when Jim, let's face it, isn't the kind to go down without a fight? So does he expose Chrissy, unleash a revenge song, and take his own case to the next level? Or does he formally fade away? Public, or is this truly the time when we witness a rap legend go down for good? Tell us what you think, leave a comment, and remember that this tale is far from over. There are still more teasers and leaks to come. If you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Click the like button, leave a comment, and enable notifications. Revelations, and you already know where to receive it first, right here. Because, believe me, this is only the beginning, and you won't want to miss the next chapter when it comes out. Tell me, is Jim Jones done, or is the real conflict just beginning? And let's speak about it. Leave your comments below, and I'll see you all in the next one. Stay tuned, as we'll dissect everything we just discussed, including Jim Jones' demise and Chrissy's treachery. Industry secrets. This isn't a minor drama. It's a full-fledged conflict where people's reputations are ruined, loyalty is meaningless, and one mistake will end your life. Jim Jones is currently hanging on by a thread. Is this the end of his career? Let's face it, we've seen careers go from Andy running the game for 1 minute to your name trending for all the wrong reasons, and if history is any indication, now is the time when legends either flourish or fall. What will Jim do? Fight back, go to scorched earth and reveal all, or simply disappear, another fallen king in the industry's cemetery? Because, let's face it, nobody loves this industry, and Jim might not have a future move if he doesn't play it well. Where do you stand on social media right now? Some people are riding with Jim, claiming that he is being set up, while others believe that Chrissy is finally coming clean. The truth, but here's the thing, nobody can truly predict what will happen. Next, which is why I want to know who you think is supporting Jim and whether you think he's being, if you believe that Chrissy finally had enough and revealed the true Jim Jones, or if you believe that she was betrayed and set up. Please leave a comment right away because, believe me, this tale is far from over. Who are the real hidden players behind this? Come on, you guys know that this isn't simply a casual breakup. Someone stands to gain from Jim losing everything, so consider who is observing Jim's empire from afar, crumble, waiting to take his place, because, in this industry, there is always someone vying for the throne when a monarch falls, so if you think the drama is done, you're completely mistaken. When we witness breakups, this is where things start to become weird. Scandals that have wrecked careers overnight, yet something about this is more than just a romantic relationship. This is a power move. The story has gone astray. And when individuals begin to assert their authority, the true secrets are revealed at that point. Therefore, I would like to know what Jim does next. Return more resiliently. Or is this the last nail in the coffin when I received a sense that this is only the start if you believe this to be insane? Simply wait to learn what's about to happen next because, believe me, it's more significant than Jim, Chrissy, and you alone already find out where you'll hear it first. Right here, in case you haven't signed up. But why are you even hitting that like button, leave a remark, and the majority of most essential, activate notifications? Because the upcoming upgrade will alter everything. Keep it locked in and see you all at the next one.